Welcome back. The best ideas, the ones that really impact how we live, often start with a small seed of an idea and one very passionate and creative mind. A senior at North Creek High School in Bothell is focused on breaking barriers for the deaf and hard of hearing community, and he's won a very prestigious award for the third time. And now Dhanush Eashwar joins me. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Oh, well, we're so excited. You've won this award 3 times, which I cannot believe. Tell everyone what it's all about.
So the Apple Swift Student Challenge is this prestigious award that Apple, conducts before their Worldwide Developers Conference. In fact, as we speak, it's happening right now in 2025. So the Worldwide Developers Conference is when Apple, introduces all of their software to the world, whether it's for iPhone, iPad, Mac, etc. And they have a lot of things to unveil. But before this, they also want to empower the younger generation of developers with a set of tools, specifically the Swift programming language and Apple's toolkits, to empower them to build things that are creative, that are highly technical, and that make a social impact. These 3 are the criteria that they look for in their challenge, and they also have this program called Distinguished Winners. And if you're selected as a distinguished winner, you can actually go and attend the conference in person, which I was able to do last year. So it's a truly amazing experience that Apple has provided for us.
Gosh, that is incredible. And your winning project this year was ASL 911 for the deaf and hearing impaired. First, tell me about the problem you were trying to resolve, and then your project.
Yeah, so ASL 911 was my submission for this year's Apple Swift Student Challenge. The problem that I was trying to solve is specific to emergency communication for the hard of hearing community. One of the things that I noticed is technology evolves very rapidly in certain domains, but it's not accessible to everyone. And I wanted to make technology not only accessible to hard of hearing individuals, but also portable. So I built an app for hard of hearing individuals to actually communicate with 911 operators in specific emergency scenarios. Some of the scenarios include allergic reactions, as you can see on screen. There's also, fire, house fire, and car accidents. So these are some of the scenarios that I trained my machine learning model to recognize, and hard of hearing individuals can actually communicate with 911 operators in these specific scenarios. Yeah.
And what do you call it specifically when they're using the app?
Well, they're expressing themselves in American Sign Language, and the app is called ASL 911. So one of the things that inspired me to make this is that hard of hearing individuals, if they text 911, it actually takes like 4 to 8 minutes for them to respond minimum, right?
Gosh.
And that can be like a life-threatening amount of time, right? And there's also studies that show that if you text during emergency situations, you're more likely to make mistakes, right? So if hard of hearing individuals communicate in their quote-unquote mother tongue, right, which is ASL, right, they're able to express themselves in the natural way, preventing them from, any catastrophes from happening.
This is fantastic. And your previous 2 projects were also about breaking barriers for the hearing impaired. So tell me about those.
Yeah, so my submission in 2024 and 2023 had to do with different niches in American Sign Language. So this year I focused on emergency communication. In past years, I focused on making learning ASL more accessible for hard of hearing individuals. So last year my submission was called Finger Dance, and the app basically allows people to place virtual objects in their real world space and click on those objects and practice expressing, signing those objects in American Sign Language. So it's a very interactive way to learn ASL compared to, other languages, right? Because if you're learning, French or German, you can easily use an app like Duolingo to learn it. But learning ASL, on the other hand, requires a very tailored experience to hard of hearing individuals. Yeah.
And why did you want to focus on this space so much?
Well, I've been taking American Sign Language courses in my high school, North Creek High School. They have a great set of American Sign Language courses, ASL 100, 200, and 300. And part of the school, they also enabled us to go and attend deaf events that are happening in our local community. So I went there and I witnessed the communication barrier firsthand. And I was like, oh my goodness, right? There's, if you were speaking French and I was speaking German, we could use Google Translate to communicate with each other, right? But if someone is expressing themselves in ASL and you're speaking English, there is a deep communication gap, right? There's no translate for visual languages. And that was my bigger picture vision, was to create a tool that can bridge the gap for hard of hearing individuals. And I think the Swift Student Challenge enabled me to manifest that dream.
Absolutely. And at the competition you talked about earlier, you got to meet a ton of young tech inventors, as well as Tim Cook for Apple. I'm sure that was amazing.
Yeah, that was truly an amazing experience. As I mentioned before, if you're selected as a distinguished winner of the Swift Student Challenge, Apple has, catered a whole experience for you, start to finish, with consecutive events where you can network. They also have like cohorts of groups that they put you into. So my project was related to accessibility, right? So they put me into a group where I met other people working on similar accessibility projects. So there's one guy I met, he was working on, haptic feedback for deaf and hard of hearing people. So that was like truly amazing, right? So there's so many things that I learned. And obviously meeting Tim Cook, as you can see on screen right now, was truly unexpected and a surreal experience. Yeah.
I want to get in really fast. What's next for you?
Well, I'm headed off to UC Berkeley this fall to study computer science. Thank you so much. And I hope to, make new friends and expand this project further there. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to see what you do next. Thank you so much for everything that you do.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me once again. Yeah.
Absolutely.